So thank you all for joining us this evening for the physics webinar session. My name is Chandler Kuhn. I'm an international admission counselor for Marietta College. Joining me today is the chair of the physics department, Dr. Dennis Kuhl. And if you'd like to introduce himself a little bit, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here representing the programs that we have here at Marietta in physics, applied physics, the engineering dual degree program, and our astronomy minor. My background is that I'm originally from Ohio. I went to a small college in Ohio, and then I went to a very large research university to get my PhD. I got a PhD from Michigan State. This is my 18th year here at Marietta College, and I really just very much enjoyed being a faculty member here. It's been a very rewarding experience, and I always tell people the greatest reward that I have is seeing the great success of our students once they graduate and move on and do amazing things. I'm a surface physicist. My own area of interest is in how the physical properties of thin metal films change when things stick to the surface. And so we have a laboratory here that I do work with students on that research, and they conduct research projects investigating things like the resistivity change and the reflectance change of thin gold films.
Okay, great. So one of the questions we just received is, what are some ways students can engage with the department outside of the classroom?
Okay, yes, ways that students can engage outside the classroom. So there are a number of different opportunities. One that I just mentioned is in the capstone research projects. That's a big one. Our programs are really designed around that senior level experience. For people in the 3-2 dual degree program, it happens in their junior year. But that is a year-long mentored research project, a one-on-one project with a faculty member. So I'm going to have a student working with me next year, for example. We've just set that up. He's working on his proposal for the research. And so he'll have his own workspace there in the lab, and he and I will meet weekly, and he'll be trained on that apparatus, and then he'll have a lot of independence. And so I'll mentor him all the way through that project. So that's one big area. Other opportunities exist in terms of things like outreach. We do a lot of outreach in the department. And so I know that people who become trained to use the planetarium can work with Dr. Bragg on giving planetarium shows to the community. Students have opportunities to take our portable planetarium out and do things in the community along with faculty members and with our department technician, Francie Bolden. And then we also have certain social activities that we do during the year. Typically we have things like a picnic and things like that with the department. We also have a physics club chapter here, and that's student initiated, and what they choose to do in any given year is really up to them. But there are anything from making liquid nitrogen ice cream on the mall to going on a field trip to a science museum or the Green Bank Observatory. We've done a lot of different things.
That was actually going to be the follow-up question. What are some ways inside or outside the classroom do the physics department have fun?
Have fun, yes. Well, those are some of the things that we've done. I took a group of students up to Pittsburgh, and we went to the Carnegie Science Center, for example. We have had some students in recent years interested in rockets, and so they've been using our 3D printers to build their design and build their own model rockets and launching those types of things. But another thing that we do, a couple of other things that we do, we have a bi-weekly physics colloquium series, and it's I say we get together for some hot physics and cold pizza, and we can roughly every other Friday we bring in guest speakers and have presentations. They get to see the broader field of physics, but we have pizza and pop provided, so that's one thing. Another thing we do is we take our students every spring to a regional meeting of the Ohio region section of the American Physical Society. And so we usually take a fairly substantial sized group on that trip. It's an overnight stay at one of the institutions within the Ohio and Michigan region. and it's a physics conference, but it's also fun to have that overnight trip together, and eat together and spend time together. So we do that every spring. It also provides an opportunity for our capstone students to present their research.
Okay. Next question is, how are your classes running during the COVID-19?
Yeah, that's the big challenge, isn't it? I'm teaching several introductory physics classes right now, and I'm trying to keep those as close to the actual normal experience as I can. And so we are actually running Zoom meetings like this during normal class times. And so, I can use the technology that we have to write on a virtual whiteboard as opposed to doing one in the classroom and so forth. So, there are significant challenges to that we tend to move at a somewhat slower pace. Maybe don't get through quite as much material, but we have to as faculty members, have to make special efforts to make ourselves available to the students through telephone or text or email or whatever the case may be, even more so than normal, just because people have particular challenges that they wouldn't otherwise have. I would say for my upper level course in electricity and magnetism, it's pretty normal. It almost feels kind of normal. It's a very small class of just a few junior, senior physics majors. We get together on Zoom, and the interactions are pretty relaxed and normal in a brain way.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to see the adaptability that the college has shown with going to all online classes and everything like that. So definitely some differences.
Yeah, I don't aspire to be an online physics professor. That's not where I see myself in a year or 5 years. But certainly, to whatever extent it's necessary to weather the storm, we're willing to do what we have to do.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some difficulties with that. Okay, so next question is, what are some internships, research, field experience, experiential learning opportunities available for students in the physics department?
Yeah, so the two main types of internships that I have had students do over the years, they include it's mostly summer internships. What we see is students doing summer research internships, and they're competitive. We encourage our students to apply to these competitive internships early in the academic year, sort of around December, January, February, that time period, to try to line these things up. And we have some things in our program that are meant to help prepare them to succeed in these things, like a dedicated sophomore lab experience to help them gain laboratory and research skills to help them be effective in those internships. But what are some of the ones that people have done? Well, last summer we had a student at the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration doing research on solar flares in Colorado. And so that's an example of a government-funded internship. We've had people at Argonne National Laboratory or the National Superconducting Cyclotron Lab. We've had people at the National High Magnetic Field Lab. Those are all National Science Foundation funded internships. We also had somebody at the Natural History Museum in New York City. He said his office was down the hall from I'm blanking. Who is the famous physicist who hosts Cosmos? I can't remember. But I can't believe I can't.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Anyway, yeah. So that was another type of one that students have had. A lot of these things are funded by national labs or the National Science Foundation. They run for 8 to 10 weeks. It's a paid internship that the students have. They get fantastic research experience, and they also learn things about themselves and about the kinds of things they might like to do or not like to do after they graduate. So those are competitive. We have had a lot of students do those types of things. We also offer a limited number of on-campus research opportunities as projects are available with an individual faculty member. I've hired students to work in my lab during the summer. I know that Dr. Howell has done the same thing. As I said, as projects are available, we can sometimes tailor a similar type of experience for a student here on campus as well.
Okay. Kind of going a little bit further from that. What are some jobs that students who graduated with a physics degree have obtained?
Your job title, if you study physics as an undergraduate, your job title is not likely to be physicist. It's likely to be something else. It's likely to be engineer. That's a very high percentage of the people who go in, who study physics, they end up going into engineering. Mostly 75% of people who get bachelor's degrees in physics and go right into the workforce get jobs in engineering or something to do with computers, whether it's a computer science or it's an information technology type job. So those are very common that you see people in those types of jobs, and many other types. Certainly physics teaching is a possibility. We do have a licensure program here with the state of Ohio so that you can get licensed to teach physics. But what I wanted to say was that the majority of our students, 70% or more, go to graduate school, and they go to graduate school in physics and in lots of other things as well. You can take a bachelor's degree in physics directly into graduate school in engineering, for example. We have, in fact, one example I'm just thinking of, just last week, because my sophomore experimental physics class can't meet to do experiments, I thought, well, let me substitute something in there. And so I set up a Zoom meeting between them and one of our alumni so it was the idea was to give them an experience of meeting somebody who actually applies some of the skills that they're developing in his career. And it's Seth Avery. He's a graduate of Marietta College and went to he got a PhD at Wisconsin in mechanical engineering, and now he works for the Ford Motor Company as a research engineer in their electrification program of building the next generation of electric vehicles. And so we had a great meeting with Seth. We've had a couple of people go into materials science and engineering. Meredith Rogers is she got a PhD at Purdue University in materials science, and she's a senior research engineer at General Electric in Cincinnati in their additive manufacturing division. We have people working at Intel, or one person working at Intel in Oregon. We have somebody working as a senior researcher for Alexion Pharmaceuticals out on the East Coast. And we have a graduate who's working at NASA in the NASA Glenn Research Center. Lots of different types of things. And they're not, physics graduate school is a great option, but it's not the only option. There are lots of different options: mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and so forth.
Yeah, that definitely shows how diverse the degree is just by obtaining it.
Yeah, so I've heard it said physics is the liberal arts degree of the 21st century, because it has the same role within science and technology that the liberal arts has in general in higher education, which is to prepare someone broadly, to think broadly, to be a good learner, and to be able to take complicated problems and break them into solvable pieces. Those kinds of skills are the kinds of things that you learn when you study physics.
Great. So the next question we received, so if you are undecided and you have kind of an interest in physics, what are some courses that you would recommend I take my first or second semester?
Of college, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, okay. To be on track in pretty much any of our programs, the physics, applied physics, engineering dual degree, the best thing to do is to be ready for Calculus 1 and Physics 1 in your first semester. We also typically have students take Computer Science 1, the intro programming course, in their first semester, although that one could be done later. if for some reason perhaps your high school didn't have a really strong math program and you're not ready for calculus, it happens. It happened to me. I had to start out in pre-calculus, and so I didn't get to start my physics program until I was a sophomore. It's possible to do that. It's a little harder, because what it means is that in your junior year, you're sort of doubling up sophomore and junior level courses. So the best thing to do is to be able to start out in Calculus 1 and Physics 1. And that keeps a lot of doors open. In fact, the first 2 years of the physics major and the applied physics major are the same. So you're not locked into one pathway or another pathway. People sometimes start out in our engineering dual degree program, for example, majoring in applied physics, and then decide, I want to stay around for 4 years. No problem, you can do that. So there's a little flexibility to change your mind a little bit within several different pathways within the first couple of years.
Okay. I'm noticing we have some new attendees. So if any of you would like to submit a question, please do so. The little chat bubble or the Q&A at the bottom is where you can do that. We do have another question, and it's kind of on the same category as the previous question. Kind of what classes would you recommend in high school, my senior or junior year, that I should take?
Yeah, that's something I get asked a lot. And a lot of times people think that they have to have that calculus course in high school. Have to have AP calculus, and I have to have credit for a year of calculus or something like that before I start my physics or engineering program. In fact, the best thing is to have a really strong pre-calculus background. It's the advice I gave my own daughter, in fact. So I said, get a really strong pre-calculus background so that you're ready to take that calculus course in your first semester of college. If you get a strong pre-calculus background and you get a semester of calculus, for example, or something like that, hey, that's just bonus. That's great. Sometimes people do start out in Calc 2, for example, if you have all that in the high school. So don't push it, though. Don't get yourself above the level where you should be and then not have that pre-calculus background, because I've had plenty of people who say, I'm only testing into pre-calculus, but I had calculus in high school. Well, that's because you didn't get the good foundation you needed, and that happens. So that's the number one piece of advice I would give. And the other thing I would say is, hey, take a physics course. Learn a little bit about what the field is about, and get involved in things like Science Olympiad or Science Fair or Robotics Club or those kinds of things, and learn what you like and learn what kinds of questions you get interested. What kinds of questions get your creative juices flowing? If you are thinking, I really like to know how things work. That's how a physicist thinks. We want to know what are the fundamental ways in which the universe works. If you're more interested in how do I make something do what I want it to do, those folks are maybe more engineering oriented, and applied physics can be a great option for them as well. I got a little bit off of your question about high school courses, though, so sorry about that. But yeah, a strong math background is really important for anyone who wants to major in physics or engineering or applied physics.
Thank you. So next question is, what does MC offer in this area that is different from other colleges and programs?
Yeah, so we have a very strong small college physics program. What that means is that we're large enough to offer offer our students a way to see different ways of doing physics. We have 4 faculty members with different interests, different expertise, different educational backgrounds. That allows perspectives. That allows our students to see, as I said, different ways of thinking and doing physics. But we're small enough then to be able to really give each individual student the attention that they deserve, and that's really that you really see that in our one-on-one mentored research projects that I was talking about earlier. But the program, so we have a very strong undergraduate physics curriculum in the liberal arts context. We're real strong believers in the liberal arts, and so we want our students to not only have a good, deep physics education, but a good liberal arts background and breadth of education. And so our students have been well prepared to succeed at graduate school. That's our goal, to have a program that can prepare students who can succeed at graduate school. And so that's one thing. In the applied physics, it's a very flexible major. That one has a physics and math core, and you do a physics capstone, but you have a set of elective courses that you can choose from among different types of science and engineering courses. So if you want to go into mechanical engineering, for example, you could do applied physics and you could take our basic engineering courses from our engineering faculty, and those would count right in the applied physics major. And that's something that you don't find at other small colleges that have similar applied physics or 3-2 programs, because typically they don't have those basic engineering courses that you can take. You could take some chemistry courses and count them in the applied physics major, and so as another example. So that's something that we can boast that other places typically don't have. Our 3-2 program, the way that works is that you spend 3 years here and 2 years at an engineering partner school, and at the end of 5 years, you get 2 bachelor's degrees. You get one from Marietta in whatever your Marietta major is and all of the general education courses from Marietta. Typically, that major is applied physics. It's designed for that program. And then you also get a bachelor's degree in engineering from the engineering partner school. We have 3 excellent schools that are our partners. We are partners with West Virginia University, Case Western Reserve University, and Washington University in St. Louis. Really top-notch engineering schools, and so you get to combine the best of both worlds there: a liberal arts and sciences education and an engineering education. Another thing that occurs to me that we have that other schools might not have is that if you have an interest in astronomy or astrophysics, we have a minor in astronomy, and so you can come here and have the small liberal arts college experience, major in physics, minor in astronomy, and that's a great preparation to go to graduate school in astronomy. In fact, if you look at the people going to graduate school in astronomy and astrophysics, only about half of them have degrees, bachelor's degrees in astronomy. Most of the rest have physics degrees, and so you can get that strong physics background here and combine enough astronomy that you know something about the field, and that's a good prep for grad school.
Okay. I know you kind of mentioned this earlier with hiring students over the summer for research opportunities. Are there any other work study opportunities within the physics department that could provide some extra experience for a student majoring in physics?
Yeah, we will typically, every year we'll typically hire somebody to help out with our laboratory setup and maintenance, and so that person gets to learn about the apparatus that we have in the department. We also hire graders to help with some of the intra-level courses, and maybe not the most exciting job, but it's a job that will really help you improve your abilities in introductory physics, right? You really, it's a great review for somebody who's already had that material.
Okay. Are there any questions? Just feel free to comment on that question and answer bubble down below. Another question is, what do you enjoy most about teaching / working at Marietta College?
I love being a physics professor. So first and foremost, I love being and it's not specifically to Marietta College, but I love being a physics professor. It's in some days I think I have the greatest job in the world. I get to be intellectually stimulated, and I get to pursue things that are interesting to me. And so, to anybody who's watching this video, come to campus. I'll take you down the hall. I'll show you my lab, and I'll show you the great toys that we get to play with in my lab. And I'm saying toys in quotes there because we get to work with an ultra high vacuum chamber, and we get to do original physics research down the hall, and we get to make decisions about how that's going to happen. And so I really enjoyed that. Physics itself as a subject is just a fantastic subject. It's everywhere. Everywhere you look, you see physics. It's a way of thinking about the world and understanding how the world works. And so I really like that. More specifically about working with Marietta College, I have great colleagues, So that's one thing. I really enjoy the faculty here. We have a wonderful faculty here. The staff, just great to work with also. But the students in particular, that's why we're here. And I really enjoy working with motivated students, students who are curious and ambitious. And then, as I said earlier, my greatest job satisfaction comes from I mentioned I got to call on somebody just last week to zoom into my class and share his postgraduate experiences with them. And seeing the success of students that I had years ago who have gone out and they're doing wonderful things, that's really gratifying to me as a faculty member. And they almost inevitably they remember their time here with fond memories, and that's very gratifying.
Yeah, I can attest to that on the flip side of being a student here. Just kind of the smaller class sizes that we have just kind of brings in that family aspect. Just getting to know your professors as much as your professors get to know you. It's just a really kind of interesting moment when they get to watch you grow and they're really proud of you, kind of that parental figure while you're at college, which is really interesting compared to other larger universities.
Well, and you might take 3 or 4 classes from one faculty member over the course of 3 years. Not all at once. You're seeing this person first year, second year, third year, fourth year, and there's growth there, that you see. So that's a really great thing.
Yeah. All right. So we'll wait a little bit for some questions. That final little question push. Just some information on this series. If you kind of came in at a later time, this is being recorded. So once all of the webinar series and all the departments have been recorded, they will be available to the public for any student to kind of go back and see any information that was recorded during these sessions. So you won't be missing out if any questions came about before you jumped onto this webinar. I do want to thank Dr. Dennis Kuhl for kind of taking some time out of his day to be able to answer some of these webinar questions and just kind of inform us on the physics department. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And like I said, it is online. These recordings will be online. So just kind of keep your eyes peeled for that. If you do have any other questions, feel free to contact either Dr. Dennis Kuhl or myself. We are on the staff directory at Marietta College or anything like that. So feel free to ask those questions. We'd be more than happy to help out with that. So again, thank you, Dennis, for sitting in and talking with me for this webinar.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. Have a good rest of your night.
You too.
Thank you.